The attic smelled of dust and forgotten things. Emma stood at the top of the creaking stairs, her flashlight beam slicing through the darkness. The old Victorian house had been her grandmother's, and now, after her passing, it was Emma's to sort through. At 23, she wasn't sentimental, but something about the attic called to her, a whisper of mystery she couldn't ignore. Her friends, Jake and Mia, followed close behind. Jake, ever the skeptic, lugged a cardboard box labeled "Keep" down the stairs, grumbling about the cold. Mia, wide-eyed and clutching her phone, filmed the cluttered space, narrating softly for her social media followers. "Guys, this place is creepy, perfect for spooky season." "Focus, Mia," Emma said, rolling her eyes. "We're here to clean, not make content." Mia pouted but kept filming. Emma moved deeper into the attic, her flashlight catching glints of old mirrors, tarnished silverware, and stacks of yellowed books. Under a tarp, she found a wooden chest, its surface carved with intricate vines and flowers. The lock was rusted, but it gave way with a nudge. Inside, nestled in faded velvet, was a Ouija board. Its edges were worn, the letters and numbers etched deeply as if countless fingers had traced them over decades. A heart-shaped planchette sat in the center, its glass window clouded with age. Emma's breath caught. She'd heard stories of her grandmother's eccentric hobbies, tarot cards, tea leaves, but a Ouija board? This was new. "Guys, check this out," she called, lifting the board. Jake returned, wiping sweat from his brow, and Mia zoomed in with her phone. "Whoa, that's legit," Jake said, his skepticism wavering. "Your grandma was into some weird stuff." Mia's eyes sparkled. "We have to try it. Imagine the views." Emma hesitated. She wasn't superstitious, but the board felt heavy in her hands, its wood cool despite the attic's stuffiness. "I don't know. These things can be risky." "Oh, come on," Mia scoffed. "It's just a game. What's the worst that could happen?" Jake smirked. "Yeah, Emma. Don't be a buzzkill. Let's do it." Against her better judgment, Emma agreed. They carried the board downstairs to the dining room, where a single bulb flickered above the table. Outside, the October wind howled, rattling the windows. Mia lit candles for ambiance, casting long shadows on the walls. They sat around the table, the board between them. Emma read the instructions, etched on the box's lid. "Place fingers lightly on planchette. Ask your question. Respect the spirits." She swallowed, her throat dry. "Okay, let's set some rules. No pushing the planchette, no stupid questions, and if anything feels off, we stop." Jake rolled his eyes. "Fine, Mom." Mia giggled, already filming. "This is going live, by the way." Emma glared. "Mia, seriously?" "It's just for fun," Mia said, angling her phone. "Okay, who's starting?" "I will," Jake said, cracking his knuckles. They placed their fingers on the planchette, its wood smooth under Emma's touch. The room felt colder, the candle flames flickering despite the still air. Jake cleared his throat, his voice mock serious. "Is anyone there?" For a moment, nothing happened. The planchette sat motionless, the silence broken only by the wind outside. Then, slowly, it twitched. Emma's heart skipped. She glanced at Jake, expecting his grin, but his face was pale. "Did you move it?" she whispered. He shook his head. Mia's phone shook slightly in her hand. The planchette slid to yes. Mia gasped. "Oh my God, it's working." "Shh," Emma hissed. Her fingers trembled, but she kept them on the planchette. Who are you?" The planchette moved faster now, spelling out, Eliza. Eliza, Jake said, his voice unsteady. Like a ghost named Eliza? Emma's stomach twisted. Her grandmother's middle name had been Eliza, but she hadn't told them that. Are you my grandmother? The planchette jerked to no. Mia's candle nearest the board guttered out, plunging half the table into shadow. Guys, this is freaky, she whispered. Let's ask something else, Jake said, regaining his bravado. Eliza, why are you here? The planchette moved in slow, deliberate circles, then spelled, wanted. Wanted? Emma frowned. Wanted by who? The planchette didn't move. The air grew heavier, the remaining candles flickering wildly. Emma's skin prickled, as if unseen eyes watched from the corners of the room. Okay, that's enough, she said, pulling her hands away. The planchette stopped abruptly. Mia whined. Emma, we were just getting started. No, we're done, Emma snapped, her voice sharper than intended. This doesn't feel right. Jake shrugged, but his eyes darted to the shadows. Whatever. It was probably just our subconscious moving it. Mia pouted, but ended her live stream. They packed the board back into its chest, and Emma locked it, vowing to leave it in the attic. As they left the dining room, she glanced back. The candles were out, but she swore she saw a flicker of movement in the darkness. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. The house creaked and groaned, its old bones settling. She lay in her grandmother's guest room. The Ouija board's letters burned into her mind. Eliza, wanted. She told herself it was a prank, Jake or Mia pushing the planchette. But the memory of its smooth, deliberate movements chilled her. Around 2 a.m., a soft thump came from above. The attic. Emma sat up, her heart pounding. It was probably a box falling, she reasoned. But then it came again. Thump, 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 like footsteps. She grabbed her phone and flashlight, her bare feet cold on the hardwood floor. The hallway was dark, the air thick with that same dusty attic smell. She climbed the stairs, each creak amplifying her dread. At the attic door, she hesitated, her hand on the knob. Hello? She whispered, feeling foolish. Silence. She pushed the door open, her flashlight beam sweeping the cluttered space. Everything was as they'd left it. Boxes, mirrors, the tarp over the chest. But the chest's lid was ajar. Emma's breath hitched. She'd locked it. She was sure of it. She approached, her flashlight trembling. The Ouija board lay inside, the planchette now upside down, its glass window glinting like an eye. A faint scratch came from within the chest, like nails on wood. She slammed the lid shut and backed away, her pulse roaring in her ears. Downstairs, she locked the attic door and shoved a chair under the knob. It was nothing, she told herself. Old houses made noises. But as she crawled back into bed, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed her down. The next morning, Emma called Jake and Mia over. They sat in the kitchen, sunlight streaming through the windows, but the warmth did little to ease Emma's unease. You're overreacting, Jake said, sipping coffee. It's an old house, creaky floors, drafts, whatever. Mia scrolled through her phone, frowning. Guys, my live stream from last night, it's gone, like deleted, and I didn't do it. Emma's skin crawled. That's not funny, Mia. I'm not joking. Mia showed them her account. The video was missing, but her other posts were intact. And look at this. She opened her camera roll, revealing a photo she hadn't shared, a blurry image of the dining room table, taken during their session. In the background, near the window, was a faint, humanoid shape, its features indistinct. Jake snorted. Nice Photoshop, Mia." "It's not edited." Mia's voice cracked. "I didn't even take this." Emma stared at the photo, her stomach churning. "We need to get rid of the board." Jake rolled his eyes. "What, burn it? It's just a piece of wood." "No," Emma said firmly. "We'll take it to the church, let them deal with it." Mia nodded, pale. Jake grumbled, but agreed. They retrieved the chest from the attic, avoiding each other's eyes as they carried it to Jake's car. The drive to St. Mary's was silent, the chest in the trunk feeling like a living thing, watching them. Father Daniel, the priest, frowned when Emma explained. "Ouija boards can be dangerous," he said, his voice grave. "They're not toys. I'll bless it and dispose of it properly." Emma thanked him, relief washing over her as they left the chest in his care. But as they drove away, she glanced in the rearview mirror. For a split second, she thought she saw a figure standing in the church's doorway. A woman in a long, dark dress, her face obscured. That night, Emma dreamed of the attic. She stood before the chest, its lid open, the Ouija board glowing faintly. The planchette moved on its own, spelling Emma. A voice whispered her name, soft and urgent, from the shadows. She turned, but no one was there. The air grew thick, pressing against her chest, and the whisper became a scream. She woke, gasping, her room pitch black. The clock read 3:13 a.m. A faint scratching came from the wall behind her bed, like nails dragging across plaster. She froze, her breath shallow. The scratching stopped, replaced by a low hum, almost like a voice. Emma fumbled for her phone, dialing Mia. "Something's in my house," she whispered when Mia answered. Mia sounded groggy. "Emma, it's 3 a.m. "Listen." Emma held the phone toward the wall. The humming grew louder, forming syllables she couldn't decipher. Mia's voice trembled. "Oh my God, get out of there." Emma grabbed her keys and fled, not bothering with shoes. She drove to Mia's apartment, her hands shaking on the wheel. Jake met them there, bleary-eyed, but concerned. They huddled on Mia's couch, Emma recounting the night's events. "We got rid of the board," Jake said, his skepticism fraying. "How is this still happening?" Mia's eyes widened. What if we didn't just contact a spirit? What if we let something through?" Emma's blood ran cold. She'd read about Ouija boards opening doorways, but she'd dismissed it as superstition. Now she wasn't sure. "We need to talk to Father Daniel," she said. "Maybe he knows what to do." The next day, they returned to St. Mary's. Father Daniel's face paled when they described the events. "The board is still here," he said, leading them to a locked storage room. The chest sat on a shelf, its carvings seeming to writhe in the dim light. "I was going to perform a cleansing ritual tonight." Emma's heart sank. "So it's not gone?" "Not yet," he admitted. "These things can linger. If you opened a connection, it may not close easily." Jake crossed his arms. "So what? We're haunted now?" Father Daniel's eyes were somber. "Possibly. I'll need to visit the house. And you must be honest. Did you follow the board's rules? Did you say goodbye?" Emma's stomach dropped. They hadn't. In her haste to stop the session, she'd forgotten the final step. Father Daniel sighed. "That's a mistake. Without closing the session, the spirit, or whatever answered, may still be bound to you." Mia started to cry. Jake swore under his breath. Emma felt numb, her mind racing. "What do we do?" "Stay together," Father Daniel said. "I'll prepare for the ritual. Meet me at the house tonight." That evening, the house felt different, darker, as if the walls absorbed the fading daylight. Father Daniel arrived with a bag of supplies. holy water, salt, a crucifix. Emma, Jake, and Mia followed him inside, their footsteps echoing in the silent halls. He began in the dining room, sprinkling salt in a circle around the table. "This is where you used the board?" he asked. Emma nodded, her throat tight. The air felt thick, the temperature dropping despite the heater running. Father Daniel chanted in Latin, his voice steady, but Emma noticed his hands trembling slightly. As he poured holy water on the table, a low moan filled the room, like wind through a tunnel. Mia gasped, clutching Jake's arm. The lights flickered, and the table shook, its legs scraping the floor. "Stay calm," Father Daniel said, raising his crucifix. "Do not engage it." The moan became a whisper, forming words. "Eliza, wanted." Emma's knees buckled. "It's her," she whispered. Father Daniel's chanting grew louder, but the whisper persisted, circling them. The candles on the table, unlit since their session, flared to life, their flames blue and unnatural. A shadow moved in the corner, tall and thin, its edges blurring into the darkness. Mia screamed, and Jake pulled her back. Emma stared at the shadow, her heart pounding. It wasn't her grandmother. It was something else, something wrong. Father Daniel splashed holy water toward the shadow, shouting, "In nomine Patris." The shadow recoiled, the whisper turning to a shriek. The table stopped shaking, and the candles went out, plunging the room into darkness. Emma's flashlight flickered on, its beam weak. Father Daniel was pale, sweat beading on his forehead. "It's not gone," he said, his voice hoarse. "It's strong. We need the board." They retrieved the chest from the church, Emma's hands shaking as she carried it back. In the dining room, Father Daniel set the board on the table, instructing them to place their fingers on the planchette. "We must close the session properly," he said. "Ask it to leave." Emma's mouth was dry. "What if it doesn't?" Father Daniel's eyes met hers. "Pray that it does." They began, the planchette cold under Emma's fingers. "Eliza," she said, her voice trembling, "we're sorry for disturbing you. Please leave us." The planchette didn't move. The air grew colder, the shadows deepening. Then, slowly, it slid to no. Mia sobbed. Jake's face was ashen. Father Daniel whispered a prayer, his voice barely audible. "Eliza, please." Emma tried again. "Go back. We don't want you here." The planchette jerked, spelling not. "Eliza." Emma's blood froze. "Then who are you?" The planchette moved faster, the words coming in a rush. "Hungry. Free. You." Opened. The room shook, the walls groaning as if the house itself protested. The shadow in the corner grew, its form sharpening. A woman in a tattered dress, her face a void, her hands claw-like. The whisper became a scream, filling Emma's skull. Father Daniel shouted, "Say goodbye, now." Emma gripped the planchette, her voice breaking. "Goodbye, goodbye." The planchette shot to goodbye, and the table cracked down the middle, the board splitting in two. The shadow lunged, its claws inches from Emma's face, then vanished with a final, ear-splitting wail. The room went still, the air warming, the lights steadying. Emma collapsed, her breath ragged. Mia clung to Jake, both trembling. Father Daniel sank into a chair, his face gray. "It's gone," he said, but his voice held no certainty. They burned the board's remains in the backyard, the flames casting eerie shadows. Father Daniel blessed the house, but Emma knew she'd never feel safe there again. She sold it within a month, moving to a small apartment across town. Jake and Mia drifted apart from her, the memory of that night too raw. Mia deleted her social media, unable to face the comments asking about the missing live stream. Jake threw himself into work, avoiding any mention of the supernatural. Emma tried to move on, but the whispers followed her. Not loud, not constant, but there, late at night, when the world was quiet. She'd wake to the faint scratch of nails, the hum of a voice she couldn't place. She'd check her locks, her windows, but nothing was ever out of place. One night, sorting through her grandmother's papers, she found a letter, yellowed and brittle. It was addressed to her, written years before her grandmother's death. "Emma, my dear," it read, "if you find the board, leave it be. It's not a game, it's a door, and some doors once opened never fully close." Emma burned the letter, her hands shaking, but as the ashes scattered, she heard it again, a whisper, soft and urgent, calling her name.